we know how to get people, we know how to dissolve white supremacist organizations in the United States. We know how to do that. But President Trump defunded those programs, and it's unsurprising that that too is associated and correlated with an explosion of these groups, in addition to many other contributing factors. The other thing as well is that, and so that's, one answer right there off the top of our head. The other as well is that I believe that this is directly connected to the complete lack of accountability that monopolies like Facebook have to democracy. And when Donald Trump was in charge, when we had Republicans in charge of the Senate, and when we had Trump in charge of the presidency, Mark Zuckerberg was more than happy, and even leading up to this, to have dinner parties with white supremacist sympathizers. And that and as we know, this is congressional record. You can pull up my questioning of Mark Zuckerberg and replay it. And I actually think it's important. Pull up that hearing and replay, not to toot my own horn or anything, but this is what my question line to Mark Zuckerberg was about. It was specifically about disinformation related to the election and whether he was going to address it, and the link between that disinformation and white supremacist ties at the very top of Facebook with their links to how they determine their fact checking. If you replay that, you will see that we saw what was coming for a long time. Seriously. And so he is part of this problem, and Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook bear partial responsibility for Wednesday's events. Period.
As always, AOC is right on the money with this one. For far too long, tech monopolies like Facebook have been allowed to essentially regulate themselves and be accountable to no one, other than their shareholders and investors, of course. Mark Zuckerberg, in particular, has gone to great lengths to avoid regulation from the federal government, even dining with President Trump in private and carving out special exceptions to his company's misinformation policy to allow Trump to lie with impunity in his campaign's political ads on Facebook, into which the Trump campaign poured millions to reach micro-targeted audiences that they identified as being susceptible to right-wing misinformation. And boy, have they found a receptive audience. Because of Facebook's lax oversight when it comes to radical right-wing propaganda, tens of millions of Americans have been spoon-fed conspiracy theories for years, leading them to believe that the memes they've been seeing are real and that everything else is fake news. This is the reality that we are living in. This is in large part what led to the deadly attack on the Capitol on January 6th. And still, despite some voluntary actions finally being taken by platforms like Twitter and Facebook to rein in extremist right-wing propaganda, it's too little and too late. Already, there is an invisible army of radicalized individuals all across the country who have been organizing, coordinating, and indoctrinating others into their movement. And now what happens? That is anyone's guess at this point. Hopefully we deter and avoid any more armed insurrections in the nation's capital or anywhere else for that matter. But the deep cultural organizing of deprogramming millions of people who believe that this election was rigged and creating sound public policy that regulates the algorithms which dictate how information permeates across the internet is an effort that will take all of us being actively engaged socially and politically at all levels. In the end, the future of our republic may very well depend on it.